Hey guys, Joshnic here. Today I'm starting a new series where I'm basically going to teach you guys everything I know when it comes to DJing, music organisation, edits, pretty much videos for people who haven't DJed before at all in their life, all the way through to people who are experienced DJs playing on the weekends and maybe just want to learn something that maybe they've never tried before. There's no particular recipe for how to do everything. This is just how I do it. Your ways can be different. I just do what I do because it works for me. So hopefully you guys can take something out of this. So for today's video, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna jump into a record box here, and before we get into the sides of how to actually mix, mashups, all the really fun stuff, we do have to organize music firstly. It's taken me a little while to kind of work out the formula that I like and that works for me. Having music organized really helps a lot, especially when you're DJing on the fly. Maybe you've just put 50 new tracks onto your USB you've never played before. The way I organize things works really well for me, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of you guys out too as well. So basically everything over here, the way I first start out with is I organize all of my sets, playlists into folders. Generally it's depending on the club that I'm playing at, or whether it's like a special event or whatever, or just stuff that's more basically just me. So just starting off with this one here, Joshnic 2018, the everything that I want to play that's all me, not playing for a particular venue or group of people. Next one I've got is Ransom. So in here I basically would organize all of my Ransom sets per artist that was playing, and then I would essentially compile playlists depending on when I was playing and picking tunes that would sort of suit the night of, with who's playing. Going through my folder, just because this is where I usually put all my music into, this is the one that's updated the most frequently. Going in here, the way I've organized my music, I've got some 128 BPM bass tunes here, whether it's bass, house, trap, whatever. A couple of DnB jump up tracks. I don't really ever use this playlist, it's just something I threw together at one point. Dubstep, this is what I basically put anything that's not rhythm or even rhythm related into, just because the way I kind of gauge this sort of music is more along the lines of like flow and I guess overall energy intensity, because there's a very big difference between, say, Lone Wolf, Zomboy versus, I don't know, like a sudden death track, like two completely different spectrums of the dubstep game. In here, the G Up playlist, this is all like Jersey, basically any kind of 4/4 tune. So even stuff like this, for example. You get the idea, like that kind of like high intensity, boom, boom, boom sort of stuff. In here, just all of my edits. As you can see, I've made a ton of edits. In here we've got my tracks, like originals, stuff I'm working on, whatever. And then in here I just have rhythm. That's basically anything rhythm related, anything that may not necessarily be rhythm but it works with these other tunes. That's basically how I structure everything. Now, you could just go ahead and create a folder in Rekordbox and put your playlist in there like such. I find this to be a bit of a pain, so what I actually do is I create all of these folders in iTunes. So as you can see here, I've got Joshnic 2018, GPO, Eat and Seal, whatever. Everything's all in here because that's basically where I put all my music. Everything goes into iTunes. I like listening to it on my phone on the go. Like everything in iTunes, just keeps it all organized. And the way I connect iTunes to Rekordbox is if you open up Rekordbox, go to the advanced folder. The database, you need to go into iTunes library file, navigate to your iTunes folder. It's in music if you're on a Mac, PC, I'm assuming it's somewhere on those lines. And you just need to select the XML file for iTunes. I don't really change anything here. I basically would just leave everything here the way it is. And then pretty much any time I ever, drag a new song into a playlist, it's not going to automatically update in here. So what you need to do, go into iTunes on here, click on that plus icon, your folder, whatever it is, import playlist. Okay, anything new that's been put into that playlist since I've actually put a new song in there is going to analyze automatically and put it into that folder. And now if you've already done that, you've been adding more music, but you've already opened up that iTunes folder, you do need to hit the refresh button, because if you just do what I just did before, import that folder, then add it back, add new tunes into iTunes and then import that folder again, you're not going to get that song unless you refresh the iTunes pane in Rekordbox. Now the next part here, I'm actually going to break down how I have set up everything as regarding analyzing tracks. As you can see here, I've got a couple of memory points up the top here. Basically just how I organize my music as far as the analysis and memory points go, and why I do it. So the way I set up, firstly we'll change this to 8 bars. Now if you want to navigate between memory points, just so you know what I'm doing, basically any letter from A to I think semicolon, we'll be able to quickly chop between memory points. If you see me doing this, that's just because I'm hitting the different letters on the keyboard. So A is 1, S is 2, D is 3, F4, you get it. And then also the reason why I've set 8 bars over here is so if I use the arrow keys, I can quickly jump between points of the track, 8 bars, you know, left or right. That's what makes this next part really quick and easy. So what I do is I put a memory point generally anywhere I think I'm gonna mix in or mix out of this track, or if I just want to be able to quickly load the track up while I'm playing a set, flick to a specific memory point, hit Q, listen, okay, I like this song, it's gonna work. It just helps me getting to parts of the song quicker than having to hit search and spin the decks, and it just makes things a lot more efficient. So if I just delete all these memory points, what I'll do here, I normally put a memory point at the very beginning of the track, so like here. Depending on the track, I may or may not do this a bit differently, but generally I'll maybe put another memory point here. What I'm doing here to add a new one, firstly hitting C, which is Q, then I'm hitting M, that adds a memory point, and then I'm just hitting right on the keyboard, C, make sure you've got that Q point, because the memory point's only going to add where the Q is, hit M, rinse and repeat. So then literally I can just do this, and that's a whole track done. I think you can get about 10 memory points in there, quick and easy. So then basically when I'm DJing live, I can visually look at the spectrum and generally know which point of the track is where, but to give some maybe further indication to make it easier, what I will do is maybe have one for the intro, one for the break before the build up here, and then the drop. That's quite obvious on this track, but I'll just put a marker here just to show, you know, the bit of the down part after the drop. That's the start of the build, that's the start of the second drop. Now here I believe is another build up in between drops. Yeah, and then here's basically the second part of the second drop. So that's basically how I use memory points, why I put them the way I put them there, and yeah, it just seems to work for me. Basically it's quick and easy, and especially when I'm importing new songs. So where's that new one? So here's that new track I added. I should have actually put that at the top of the playlist because all this stuff down here is all older. We'll load that up. What I'll do for any song that I haven't gone through with Rekordbox before, normally it will automatically do the beat grid, and it's generally 99% of the time on point or good enough. But what I always do is just hit the plus icon just so I can zoom in and make sure that the beat grid is perfectly aligned. Now I don't know if you can see here, but just there on the screen is very slightly off, so the beat grid's slightly too far to the right. So what I do is just hit left, that's actually probably on point there. And the best way I check to make sure this is the case, I usually just go to the start of the drop and look for like a kick or a snare that's got a really strong transient, and I can generally go off that and know that I'm actually, you know, 100% on point. So if I move that to the right, you can see a bit of the kick. This is overly pedantic, but I like doing this just so if I'm ever doing loops or anything, I know it's going to be perfectly aligned. There's not going to be any issues playing this live. Now, there is one other thing which I will show you, which you may run into time to time, is tracks that change BPM in the middle of the song. So you might have, I don't know, a song that goes from 128 to 150 BPM, might go the opposite way, I don't know. But I'll find a perfect example. So this is an edit I've made for GPO, who knows how long ago, 2017, there you go. So it starts off with this, so it's 126 BPM. Then over here, this actually goes all the way up to 150. So if you haven't used Rekordbox before and you say, you know, your beat grid's all aligned, it's 126 BPM, that's fine. Then you'll get to this part and you're like, hang on, it's all over the place. So what is the go here? What you need to do, zoom in, do what I did before, look for the beginning of beat where it's not going up in speed, because here, you can tell that it's actually speeding up. So you need to wait till it gets to the part in the song where it's not speeding up or changing tempos, it's just at a flat rate of whatever it is. Now you can generally get a good feel for how strong the BPM is, like how fast it is. If not, I'll show you what to do. Find the start of the kick. Basically, once you've got that point, you need to hit this button here. And what it does is, from that moment where your line is, that's going to start a new beat grid. Anything from here forward, if you change this number, it's not going to affect anything previous to this marker. So the beat grid before this point in time stays as it is. Everything after will change. So if you watch, if I change that BPM to say 140, everything on the right changes, but everything on the left stays the same. So everything to the left is 126 still, but over here we can see that that's changing. So if you're unsure what the BPM is, just keep changing it until you see those lines come closer and closer together. And just say, for instance, 149, it's almost on, but you can see towards the right that it is still starting to go out a bit. But I know that song is 150 BPM, and you can see there, it's all good. So after you've gone through all of your music, you've got memory points set up. You can do cue points if you want. I just prefer memory points, you get more of them. And once you've gone through all that, you've organized everything, now it's time to get it ready to put on your USB. I strongly recommend these SanDisk USBs. I don't know if they sell them anymore. I'm pretty sure they do. These USB sticks, I think I've got 232 gig ones. The USB 3, they're super fast for transferring. Now, touch wood, this has never failed on me. I've got 2 of them. None of them have failed on me. I've had them for at least 3 years or so. They still go hard. I've had them go through the wash many times by accident. Still working. Highly recommend these. I've tried other USB sticks. They've literally failed on me within, weeks of using them. But I've never had an issue with these, so strongly recommend these ones here. I'll leave a link in the description as well if you want to pick some of these up for yourself. Now, if you have used this USB on CDJs or any kind of Pioneer equipment beforehand, it's going to just import your histories from your previous sets. So you can actually go through if you wanted to find out, hey, what was that song I played last time, or those 2 songs I played together worked really well. You just go into your histories and just go to the month, the year, and it will load up that history playlist, and that's everything that you played during that particular session. But once you've got USB plugged in, all you need to do, find your playlist, say this one, export folder, export it to your USB stick, hit OK if you've already got it on there, and it's going to export everything that you've got in that folder across the USB. Once this is done, the last thing you need to remember, and this is honestly the most important step, if you just go ahead and eject your USB through anything other than Rekordbox, or if you just yank it out of your computer, every single thing on that USB is going to go corrupt, and you're going to go to your set, plug it in, expect to play, and then it's going to say can't read your USB, can't read your tracks. You're going to freak out, and then you're not going to be able to play. So, number one thing, once everything's crossed onto USB, find your USB, hit eject, and that's done. Now it's safe to remove it. Always hold to eject on the CDJs as well. Just you don't want anything to go wrong. Like if your USBs happen to fail and you've got a big set coming up, that would be the worst thing that ever happened. Make sure you always have at least 2. As long as you've got 2, even if one fails, provided that you've got decks that link, which 99% of clubs do, you're not gonna have any issues. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I hope you've maybe learned something, taken something away from this, seen something you haven't seen before. This is just what works for me. This isn't how you're meant to do things 100%. Just do what works for you. As long as it works, it doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as it works. That's the way I go of things. I'm going to be making some more videos for you guys soon. I'm going to go into everything on how to mix, make your own edits. Basically, my process involving anything from preparing all the way through to playing a set live and everything else in between. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.
Activate radio contact with the outside.